Hey everybody, it's Ashley coming to you live from Tulsa, Oklahoma, and I have kind of a weird time to go live, I know, but Kason, my son, had a rough day, and so I had to end up coming home from work and staying with him. I never know where to look, so it's weird. But after coming in, just say hey, where are you coming in from, and if you're catching the replay, type in replay, and I do go back and read all my comments, so I'd love to talk to you guys and connect with you. So today I'm going to talk about my foster care journey. It actually started Jaxie's 6, so about 6 years ago. And it kind of started before that, but that's when I actually got into Oklahoma foster care, was when my daughter was born. So it was with my ex-husband that we actually adopted our 2 children. So I don't know if you caught my live a couple days ago about infant loss, but on that video I talked about how blogs and blogging, hey Melissa, hey Cassie, how blogging and blogs helped me kind of get through that really difficult, rough time in my life. And as I was reading a bunch of blogs on moms who have lost children, I came across a mom that blogged who wasn't able to have children, which we went through 5 years of infertility. So I had a bunch of blogs that I read about that too. And she had mentioned about how they had decided to go through their state foster care program, and I think she lived in maybe Kentucky or Tennessee. Hey Brittany. So it's not anybody I knew. I just started following her journey through her blog and about how she adopted 1 child and then another child. And thank you, Melissa, thank you for watching, and I do what I can. So there's a big crazy spider on my porch. That's kind of scary. Sorry. So I talked to my ex-husband about foster care, and you hear all those scary stories, and so both of us were kind of like, well, we're not sure. And we had just recently moved to a small town, and we were in like a 1-room house. Like literally there was no bathroom. Like the bathroom had a shower curtain over it because we were waiting to build our house and put a house on our land. So we hey Jana, so we decided we weren't really ready for foster care, but we went ahead and called our county. You call your county department to start the process, and we just kind of asked a few questions and started filling out the paperwork. And it wasn't until a year later that we actually turned in that paperwork. And I didn't know how long it would take. I didn't know anything, because number one, I never knew anybody that had done foster care, like personally, my own personal story that I could call and ask like what their experience was. Number 2, we just had no idea about, like, we had been going through 5 years of infertility, and I could tell you ins and outs of how to get pregnant. I could tell you ins and outs of the process for infertility or IUI or all of those things, but I had no idea about adoption. I just knew it was expensive, and I knew we didn't have the finances for that, so I just kind of thought that our options were either to not have children or look into foster care, because I knew that it was free, and I knew that there was a lot of kids that needed help, so that was kind of what we decided to do. So I kind of just want to walk through the journey, like the process with you. So we filled out paperwork, got it to our state department in our county. Sorry, there's like a spider. That's scary. Let me see if I've got something to kill it, because I don't even have shoes on. Okay. Sorry about that. So we got our paperwork in. And from the time you turn your paperwork in until the time that you're approved to be a foster family is about 6 months. And I had no idea. And I wanted a child like yesterday, because we'd already been going through 5 years of infertility. I'd already lost my son. So the 6 months was excruciating. Every step just took so long. So we fill out the paperwork. They come do a home study. The county worker does first. And that home study is basically just a walkthrough to see if your home is safe and that it's clean and all that stuff. And like my mom came down the weekend before, and we like shampooed the carpets, and we went all out crazy because I knew that this worker was going to come and do a home study. And she gets there and she's like, "You guys are nervous, aren't you?" And I was like, yeah, we're pretty nervous. She's like, yeah, I can tell, because your house is like super clean, and like you can just tell. She's like, most people's houses aren't like this when we go in there. So I was kind of surprised because I felt like we still needed to do a lot of work, but whatever, we did what we could. So she comes out, and then she sends your paperwork in to do your like background check and fingerprints and physicals and your income. They do ask a lot of personal questions, so be prepared for that. I don't even know really what they do with the information other than just to kind of weed out people, but it is pretty invasive, so that is definitely something you need to think about. Hey Brittany, Brittany was the one that came out. She's on here right now. So anyway, so that's pretty invasive, so be prepared for that. They ask you things that maybe you didn't even remember that happened in your family history from your parents or your siblings. I had forgotten about some stuff that really wasn't that big of a deal. It was pretty minor, but we had to explain it and discuss it, and so that was the first part. The county worker comes out, you do the walkthrough, you do that stuff, and then you start the paperwork, and then you have to enroll in classes. It's like 6 weeks, or you can do or 8 weeks. I can't, it's been a long time, but it might be 8 weeks. So you can either do it weekly, or you can do 2 for 4 weeks on a Saturday, or they might even offer different things now. But this was, 5 years ago, 6 years ago. So we went through the classes, and the very last class of our thing, the foster parents come in a panel, and they talk about their experience, and then they even have fostered children that come in, like teenagers, older kids, that talk about their experience too. So that was pretty cool, and what was even more awesome about that was we met, actually I did, my ex-husband at the time was away at work, but I met our daughter at that meeting. There was an older couple who had her, they knew she was probably going to be up for adoption, and they didn't want to adopt, of course, but we were finishing up our classes, so we weren't available. She was in our county and all of those things, and I bugged Britton, I don't know if she's still in here, but I bugged her about if we could get that placement for probably, so we found out about Jaxie in February, and then we didn't get her placed in our home until it was late August of that year. So that was so terrible as a woman who wanted a child, who I knew my baby that I was probably going to get to adopt was out there and waiting for me, and I was missing moments. So that was rough. But we did get her placement in August of that year. So we met her in February, we got the placement in August, and then we didn't get to adopt her until the following December. So it was like 19 months that we had Jax. She was 19 months old when she was adopted. And through that, we had visits with her biological parents once a week, or once every other week. And that was strange because I supervised those visits, so I was in there while they were visiting her, knowing all along that I was probably going to get to adopt her. They just weren't capable of taking care of her. They both were kind of low functioning brain wise. They had to have like somebody help them with their finances, and I'm not going to go into all that, but they weren't able to take care of her, and we knew that early on. They both had children previously taken into care. So anyways, I had visits for a year, so that's something you might not know that you might have to do in foster care, and they don't make you do that, but to me it was important because I got to find out history about Jaxie that otherwise I wouldn't have got to find out about if I hadn't have supervised those visits. I actually got to have conversations with them. I got to talk to them, as scary and as emotional as it was, especially when I saw them doing things that I wouldn't have done as a mother, or like it was a little bit strange emotionally, I'm not gonna lie, but it was definitely an advantage for me to know more about Jaxie and to know more about her heritage and to know more about her family. And they threw her first birthday party at McDonald's, and at the time that was terrifying that I was going to take her in public, not at the DHS office, for them to have her first birthday party. But now I'm super grateful for that. I got to meet her biological grandfather and some cousins, and I'll get to tell her that experience. I have pictures of it when she's older, and let her know that they were able to have a first birthday party for her because they loved her, they just couldn't take care of her. And so we adopted Jaxie in December, and then we got the call for Kaysen the next, she was adopted December 19th, and we got the call for Kaysen January 17th. So it was super, as soon as we got her adopted, we went right back into foster care. Kaysen's experience was a lot different than Jaxie's in the fact that it was just scary. We thought family members were going to come forward, they were from Texas. They'd already had children taken away, but it was still a different state, so you have to go through the whole thing again. And it was just a lot different experience. Ultimately, he did get to be adopted August the following year, so he was about 20 months, he was about 20 months old when we got to adopt Kason. And something else you don't know about, if you foster to adopt, once you get the red light to adopt, that goes super fast. So like, you can foster them for a long time and you can be hearing you're going to adopt them and all that stuff. And then once you get the, okay, yeah, you get to adopt them, that can go within like 3 weeks. So you go from foster care to adoption super fast. One thing that I do want to talk about is that if you want to adopt in foster care from your state for free, because adoption, let's be real, private adoption is very expensive. You can do some like pregnancy crisis centers through churches for like, I think $4,000, and maybe if you can work it out with somebody that you just know, it might be a little bit cheaper through legal fees, but I really don't think it's much cheaper than that. And it can go all the way up to $20,000 more, I mean even more if you have to do medical bills. Depending on how you have your adoption set up, it can be very expensive. And if you have finances for that, great, or if you want to do fundraisers or that kind of thing, if God's laid that on your heart, that's an awesome thing to do too. But if finances aren't where they need to be, or you want to do something on a quicker timeline domestically, I really think that foster care is a great option. But I would suggest, if you're doing it for your ultimate goal to be adoptions, I would foster to adopt, just because you will have more time with the child that you're thinking about adopting, and you can know if it's really a good fit for your family and you are a good fit for them, for the child. Because when they say you're not going to adopt a perfect child out of foster care, they mean it. And that isn't scary. That's not to be scary, and that's not to be negative. It's just the truth. These kids go through trauma in utero. They go through trauma that you're taking them from their mother from the beginning, with that being justified. But these kids are not perfect. I mean, not like my biological child is perfect either, let's be real here. But they for sure have a lot more emotional needs than what I even realized and what I thought. I thought we were going to get this baby and that we would just raise them to be like us and they would just be like us. And it's just not how that works. They have a lot more baggage than I know. The family history is more than what you know. Mental illness is a real thing, and it's hereditary, and if you don't understand all that, which I didn't, it can be frightening, but people are there to support you along the way. Oh, thanks, Ashley. I got it. It's red. So I wanted to kind of give you, that's kind of the whole why I chose foster care. We didn't have the finances. I know there's tons of children out there that need love. I know that it's a scary thing. I know that so many people won't do it because they're scared about giving a child back. And I can tell you this, I fostered children that I was going to adopt. I adopted 2, and I fostered children that were just foster care. And it was the same. I love them the same. You love them the same. It wasn't, I don't know, just because it's hard to give them back doesn't mean that those children don't deserve love. So that's kind of what I wanted to do. And I wanted to give you guys a few statistics. Oklahoma has probably now over 10,000 kids in foster care. I know the last one I saw was like 9,000 something children that are in foster care, and less than 6,000 foster homes that are in foster care. 60,000 or 60% of those people will go to kinship or friends or whatever. So that's a lot of them do end up finding homes. But a lot of these kids have to spend nights with the foster care workers and in shelters and in homes just because they have to do so much work to find foster homes for these children. And so I would really encourage you to do some homework, do some soul searching, do some, oh shoot, sorry, I got a text and it like went to it. Do some praying. And really think about what you can do to help this community, regardless if that's you be a foster parent, which let me tell you, to be a foster parent, you don't have to have a lot. You have to have a bed, you have to have a drawer, and you have to have love, and you have to have stability, and you have to have a safe place for these children to lay their head down. And there's all different things that you can do. If you don't want to do something long term because you think it'd be too hard to love on a kid and like send them to something that you're not comfortable with, do emergency foster placement. That could be you're doing newborn babies out of a hospital till they can find kinship or they can find another home. or a teenager just for a night, that they're just like transits as they're trying to figure out what they're going to do, because like I said, 60% go to kinship. So maybe if it isn't something you think you can allow children to come in a long term, then do emergency and talk to your county and your workers. I was fortunate that I lived in a really great county, and I had a lot of really great support through our DHS office, and I've only worked with that county, so I can't really speak for everything, but I had a really great experience with DHS, and I know that so many people are scared of the agency because you hear all these scary things, but honestly, but all of my workers, I stayed in contact with them and they stayed in contact with me. I'm sure if you don't do that, if you're not really great at communicating, it might be harder for you, but I really did have a really great experience. I don't even have anything negative to say about that at all. The only scary part was that even if your workers are championing for you and you know that it's what they want, there's a judicial system in that too, that the judges and attorneys all have something totally different that you do have to work with too. So there are a lot of moving parts in foster care. It's relatively easy to get started, just to see if you can get started. I mean, they're going to do background checks. That's not easy, but don't be scared of the process. And in Oklahoma, we have department or agencies now that isn't just through DHS. So maybe if you had a bad experience or you're not comfortable with government, you might want to check into one of the agencies and see if that's a better fit for you. But don't let government or coming into your homes or whatever stop you from helping these children, just because there's such a need, so much need for this. And maybe it's not you taking in kids in your home, but you can pray for people that do. You can take them meals or ask for respite care. There's a lot of ways you can get involved, and I would really encourage you to do that. You can reach out to me on how you can do that, and I would love to get you in contact with the right people. I know that me personally, I think I fostered probably like 10 kids, somewhere in there. Most of them are newborns. But also I had a family member that adopted Jaxie's biological sibling, and then I had 2 cousins that have adopted a little girl through foster care. And I know that, and I helped another couple start their foster care journey, and they've now adopted 2 little boys. And to me, that is the most important thing, that I help these children, a small part. I mean, I know that I'm not in the trenches with these people every day, but I helped a small part of these children have a better life than what they would have had if nobody would have stepped up to the plate and they would have ended up in a group home or aged out of the system. Can you imagine being 18 years old and being like, okay, it's not exactly like this, but basically you have no family, you're going to have to start your life on your own, you're going to have to find a job, find an apartment, do all those things, and you have no support from a family that you can fall back on in a safe place. I can't imagine that, because my family is so important to me, but that's a real scenario for people every day, these teenagers, and then that's why in turn we have so many people in prisons and jail and drugs and all of this stuff. That's a big part of it. If you think about it, we just send people out to deal with life on our own, and I have support, and it's hard for me to deal with life sometimes. So I really just hope that this will speak to somebody's heart, and that it will make you at least question it. Have the conversation with your spouse, or if you're a single mom or a single person or a single woman or man, search your heart and see if this is something that you could do. It doesn't have to be forever. I mean, it could turn into forever, and that'd be awesome, but just search your heart, ask some questions, get in contact with your local office. It could be DHS, CPS, whatever you call it. Google how to be a foster parent in whatever state you're in, and then just find out about it. Find out how you can help people, how you can change somebody's life. It's if you're not waking up every day and finding out how you can make an impact, do something about that. So I just want to share a little bit about my heart and my journey, give you a few of those statistics, and thank you guys for watching. If you've got any value from this, feel free to share it out, or if you know somebody that's thinking about going into foster care, be sure to tag them in the video or share it to them. And then if they want to reach out to me, I would love to have conversations with them about this. I'm passionate about it. My children, my whole life would be different if it weren't for foster care, and I'm just so thankful for that, and I'm so grateful for the opportunity to be their mom, and that God showed off big time, because most people don't even know I adopted my kids. Even if they look different than me, I wouldn't have cared. We didn't care what we got or whatever, but to know that Jaxie, who was adopted, looks almost identical to my biological daughter is something incredible that I know God showed off for. So I hope you guys, this finds you well and you're having a great Monday, and I hope you have a fantastic week. And I am taking off a 20-day live challenge, so you'll be seeing me again tomorrow and for the remaining 18 days. So you guys have a great afternoon. Bye.